24/7, 365. 24/7. I'll be serving 24/7, 365. 24/7, 365. Hallelujah, give praise. Let me hear you say his name. Say Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Hallelujah, give praise. Let me hear you say his name. Say Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Now that's what I'm talking about. Jacob's starting to wake up, and everybody prays it now. Picking up the script and putting them 8Ks down. Spitting out that pork, no more Easter eggs now. John 14:21 sums it up. By keeping his commandments, how you show him your love. And that's how you get love from the Father above. Give praise, spread the gospel till the day he returns. 24/7. I'll be serving 24/7, 365. 24/7, 365. 24/7. I'll be praising 24/7, 365. 24/7, 365. 24/7. I'll be serving 24/7, 365. 24/7, 365. 24/7, 365. 24/7, 365. Psalms 111 and 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endureth forever. All right, we're going to get it going. Friday night, Sabbath evening lesson. Ask brothers, uncover your heads. Sister, please cover your head. And we will stand to face Jerusalem and open up.
Our Father which art in heaven.
Our Father which art in heaven.
Hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
In earth.
In earth.
As it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day.
Give us this day.
Our daily bread.
Our daily bread.
And forgive us our debts.
And forgive us our debt.
As we forgive our debtors.
As we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation.
And lead us not into temptation.
But deliver us from evil.
But deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom. And the power. And the glory. Forever. Praise the Lord. For he is good. And his mercy endureth forever. Praise the Lord God of Israel. For he is good. And his mercy endureth forever. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen. Tonight's scripture reading will come from Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Again, I just read Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of his word. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Praise the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to everybody that's here in the name of Jesus. Peace to everybody tuning in online, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're at. As we get into another Sabbath, good to be here as always. It's a blessing to know what's going on in these last days, like me and Brother Nate was just doing on 24/7 watch. Because it's a lot of, not just turmoil in the world, but right in your own family, in your own house. There's a lot of turmoil everywhere. Like I was pointing out in that, me and Brother Nate, that's
That's kind of the way it worked when it get the whole saying, if you can't stand the heat, stay out the kitchen. Well, Satan got it heating up in the world, and the Lord foretold it, all the stuff that would be taking place in our times. So we've been dealing with this pestilence for the last 21 months. It keep going up. 21, is it 21? Yeah, about 21, at least 20. And so it's pressure. It's pressure on people. That's why you see people, even people I know in the truth, you know, going all kind of ways, different ways. So, but that's what happened. That was the goal for Satan when he tried Job. He tried to make him flip over, curse God, give up. So that's what we got to stay mindful. And one of the keys throughout the whole Bible is remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Like we read in Jeremiah, we read that recently, Jeremiah 17. The Lord told Israel, if you just keep the Sabbath, this city will last forever. Because the Sabbath will help keep you. It's a sign between you and God. So it's a blessing to be here. And we're getting into tonight's lesson. We're going to start off in Daniel, the 4th chapter. Daniel 4. Kind of, the bottom got cut off on our handouts, but it don't show the amount of scripture. We got a lot of persons, so I'm going to get right into it. Try to let Willie do a lot of reading instead of, and me talk a little less, even though I like to explain every little verse sometimes. So, Daniel 4 and 17, but yeah, what you probably don't see is 19 scriptures, 158 verses. Because every now and then we rarely read whole chapters, but we're going to do it in a couple of places tonight, most of the chapter, some of them long. But it's all good. We're reading the Bible. That should be okay. It's the Sabbath. We ain't got nothing else to do. It's Friday. And we're going to get high tonight on the Word. All right. So that's the title, as you see, From the Flood of Noah to the Kingdom of Jesus. From the flood of Noah to the kingdom of Jesus. And it just shows you that the Lord then dotted every I and crossed every T. He done planned this thing from day one. What he is doing, he has allowed man, and basically he's allowed man in order, in sequential order, kind of one after another. I mean, starting with Noah and his son, to rule this earth until he come and take it over. And if people just understood this, they wouldn't think they're going to heaven. They wouldn't be waiting on the rapture. That's a lie. That's false teaching from false preachers. That's a lie. If they understood this, God tell the whole story. And he going to have to come and take it over and practically destroy mankind down to the ground like he did at the flood. Same MO. He got a different method this time, but it's the same MO. It's the same result, I should say. From the flood of Noah to the kingdom of Jesus. Pick it up here, though, Daniel 4 and 17. Read that, my brother.
This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men.
Okay, so look at this. We're not getting into this particularly, because this is dealing with Nebuchadnezzar. Actually, it was Nebuchadnezzar in this case. He had a dream. The Lord gave him a dream. He was the king of the universe at that time. King of Babylon, king of the whole known world at that time. And the Lord started everything with him. That's kind of like a little addendum to this lesson, because we're going all the way back to Noah. But the Lord started the Gentile dynasty with him. But we got to work our way up to that. I'm just jumping in here for this one verse what he told us, because Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and the dream was talked about how he was going to get cut down. But he didn't understand it, of course, and Daniel had to interpret it. So this is what Daniel was explaining to him, and he said, this matter is by decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent. Now this is what all this is like. A lot of times the Lord will give you bottom lines to things. What's the bottom line? What's the end result? Because the Lord, a lot went on in this chapter, but the bottom line, the Lord is letting everybody know, I run this. Why? Because Nebuchadnezzar was king of the whole universe, and when the Lord got fed up with him briefly, he knocked him down, sent him out in the wilderness, out in the field for 7 years. And this was a warning. This was a warning. He had the dream. And Daniel told him. But this is the bottom line to it, to the intent that the living may know. May know what? Read it again.
That the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men.
That the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. People don't know that nowadays. They think America running it. They think Russia. I mean, and they are kingdoms and doing things, but ain't nothing happening off the Lord's radar. That's why 2,000 years ago he told us everything down to the smallest iota what would be happening in these days. Wars and rumors of wars, bomb, pestilence. We dealing with famines, earthquakes. We just had a tornado down there in Kentucky and other places surrounding the area. People die. You name it, it's happening. Bad. Gonna get worse. We already know it. It's gonna get worse. That's why you have to gird up, like we read in the 24/7 watch in Proverbs 24 verse 10. If you faint in the day of adversity, we got some adversity. We got some more adversity. We got some more bad times coming. If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. So you have to build your strength up, build up, like you talk about, building up your faith. You have to work on it, like exercise. You have to work on it. And understand that the game is to get you to fall off. That's what Satan's agenda is. He's trying to get some company. So he wants everybody to know by what he did to Nebuchadnezzar, that he ruled in the kingdom of men and giveth it to whomsoever he will. See, that means he giving it to somebody, though. Nobody ruling on their own. Like when this, when America have a vote, have an election, hey, I don't even worry about it. I ain't voting for nobody, but I know ain't nobody getting in there that the Lord don't want in there. I know that. That's why people was upset when Trump got in there. A lot of Israelites, black people, they was upset. Hey, whatever. The Lord let them in. Because it said that. The Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. And then notice what's the end of that verse?
And setteth up over it the basest of men.
And setteth up over it the basest of men, the lowest of men in some cases. Just like, you could have good presidents, you could have low-grade presidents, or prime minister, whatever you call. Because it don't matter. They in there because the Lord set them up. He do it. That's what he been doing. Go to Genesis 10 now. And we're going to get into it. Because again, the title is From the flood of Noah to the kingdom of Jesus. So we're going to start off in Genesis 10. Genesis 10. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Genesis 10 and verse 1. Because a little background up until the flood where the Lord killed all the people. I was going to read a little bit more of that in Genesis 7. But up until the flood where the Lord killed everybody except for 8 people and the animals that they took with them on the ark, up until then, there were no different nations. It was all one people, one language. That shows you the most important thing is whether you're going to be good or bad, righteous or not. That's the defining. Nationalities and races came after the flood at this time. And that's when, you know, you got into these, you know, even though they had people, Cain built cities and, you know, ran his thing, but you got into really organized kingdoms and stuff like that after the flood. And what the Lord did, Noah had 3 sons. We're getting ready to read about them. But the Lord set it up where each one of his sons, and they had many nations come from each of Noah's sons. Each one of his sons had many nations, and they took turns throughout history, have taken turns running things. None of this is a coincidence. Just like back in the day, the Egyptians and the Ethiopians had great kingdoms. That's where people think we come from if you don't do no Bible research. You think we, you know, it's a black thing. But no, that's a different nationality. But they were the first to establish kingdoms after the flood. They were the first. Who? What we call Africans. They were the first. Then after that, his other son, Shem, and now we living in the days of the first son, the one that's ruling now, the Japhet. So that's why the title is From the Flood of Noah to the Kingdom of Jesus. We talking kingdoms, how they start going. But now, go ahead, 10 and 1, go ahead.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Go ahead.
And unto them were sons born after the flood.
See, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. These are 3 we dealing with. He said, these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. This when this began, after the flood. Once the flood is over, we starting a brand new thing here. Starting with just 8 people. Noah, his wife, 3 sons, and their 3 wives. Go ahead.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tyrus. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and Togarmah.
Now notice it says sons, then it's getting into grandsons, because even sons and grandsons. It's amazing what God done. He made all kind of nationalities out of just 3 boys. And it's 3 segments that went 3 different ways, because Noah had 3 sons, and then each son had a conglomerate of nationalities. That means children being born became nations. Children being born from Noah's, which would be Noah's grandsons, they became nations. And then they sons, so Noah's great-grandsons, became nations. See, it had to get somewhere where we got all these nations, all of these different languages. It had to start somewhere. Because before that, it was all, before the flood, it was all one people, one language, everything. It was just one. But that shows you they still went crazy and went off the deep end and went against God. So that don't matter. So he said, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath. So these are all descendants of Japhet, which was what the original term he going to tell us Gentiles come from. See, and they running it now. Well, but they first here, so we just going to read it through. Go ahead.
And the sons of Javan, Elisha.
Now this still, like the Greeks, this is still the descendants of Japhet, starting at verse 2. And the sons of Javan, because if you read, Javan is at verse 2. He's one of the sons. So now that's a nation, and then he had sons that became nations as well. So you got all these nations here. And he's going to tell you that. That's what this is about. And we got dynasties, and that's why we still got kingdoms to this day. You got the United States. You got the Republic of China. You got, you know, where you had the USSR. That kind of faded away. Now you still got the Russian Empire, and it's becoming stronger as ever. But go ahead.
Verse 4. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands.
See, by all these sons that came from Japhet, he called them the isles of the Gentiles. They went off in their direction because they all had that in common. They came from Japhet. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands. Go ahead.
Everyone after his tongue.
Everyone after his tongue. Go ahead.
After their families.
After their families.
In their nations.
In their nations. They spoke different tongues, etc., but they all came from Japhet. See, you can look at a lot of this in history. I can have a ton of history with this if I wanted to, but sometimes I just do it without the history because the Bible still do speak for itself. It's just history just going to back it up. But now, verse 6.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim.
Now, this is the other son, because he told you at verse 1, all three of the sons, Shem, Ham, and Japhet. It started off, it says Shem, Ham, and Japhet, but then when they started naming the descendants, it started with Japhet. Kind of went in that order. It said, and the sons of Ham, Cush. Now, we know Cush come. That's where the word Ethiopia come from. That's where they get that from, the Ethiopians. These are nations born to Ham. This is where a lot of black people think they from. Some of them think they Gentiles too. Some of them be talking about I'm Irish and all of that stuff. But mostly, if you do some research, they're going to take you back here. They're going to say, well, you come from Africa, so you one of these people. But actually, it's black racists outside of the sons of Ham, and that's where we come from, Shem. And even some history would tell you that. And the sons of Ham, though, Cush, who else?
And Mizraim.
Mizraim, that's Egypt, go ahead.
And Foot, and Canaan.
And Canaan. Libya, then Canaan, which, by the way, is where the Lord got the promised land from. He took it from Canaan and gave it to Israel. Took it from one black people, gave it to some more black people, because Israel, of course, is black. We know that. That's a fact. Nothing to make a big to-do about it. It's just the way it is. You can't get around. So now he's dealing with the son Ham. He had different nationalities came from him. Noah's son. That's why the title is From the Flood of Noah to the Kingdom of Jesus. See, we getting all the way down from here to Jesus, and the Lord had a plan all along. Go ahead.
And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sapta, and Ramah, and Saptica, and the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan.
See, now even the sons had sons. So Ham, grandsons, they became nations as well. Because now he's talking about Cush, which we already mentioned is Ethiopia. I remember when I went to college, I didn't know who the heck I was. I had an African-American class, a black history, some kind of class. I was more lost after that class than I was when I went in there. But he was talking about Cush, and he was, the teacher was talking about Cushy, and we Timbuktu. I'm like, well, where the heck we come from, though? You just got to figure that out, brother. We got to get that money. I'm like, what the heck that got to do with it? I was so lost. That didn't make no sense. I was like, just give me a good grade, man, because I ain't learned. I don't know what this is about. So, he said the sons of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sapta, Saptica, and the sons of Ramah, Sheba, Dedan. See, these are different nationalities. You can read about them other places in the Bible where they were full-fledged nations. You can read about them. Go ahead, verse 8.
And Cush begot Nimrod.
Now that's a big turn the corner here. Cush begot Nimrod. A lot of people heard of Nimrod. He's the first one put kingdom on the map. That's why it might not seem like it makes sense from the flood of Noah to the kingdom of Jesus, because after the flood of Noah is when kingdoms really got built big time. Matter of fact, this is the first time kingdoms show up in the Bible, even though you can read what Cain built cities and stuff like that. But we're talking about really doing some organizing, putting some people together. Nimrod was the first one to do that. He was the first one to do that. And the problem is, these people that's running stuff, we already read in Daniel that whoever running anything, hey, the Lord allowed them to run it. That's what you got to remember. And eventually the Lord going to take it over, even Jesus. So he said, Cush begot Nimrod, and he began to be what?
He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
Verse 9.
He was a mighty hunter before the Lord.
Go ahead.
Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord.
The mighty hunter before the Lord. And he put it in order right here. It's going to tell you, verse 10.
And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
And the beginning of his kingdom, notice it said kingdom. This is the first time kingdom literally show up in the Bible. He organized some stuff. And everybody been trying to do it better since then. But he put it together. He started it all. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. And Babel, that's where Babylon come from. And it do mean to confuse. That's why at the Tower of Babel, the Lord had confused the languages. Go ahead.
And Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar.
In the land of Shinar. That's why spiritually the Lord take everything back here. That's why you go all the way to Revelation. You're talking about Mystery Babylon, because it all started here. Go ahead.
Out of that land went forth Ashur, and builded Nineveh, and the city of Rehoboth, and Calah.
See, they doing some building, all this. They came up with governments. This happened after the flood. All these different nations and nationalities, but the number one son that was ruling after the flood, who was ruling first? This one right here. Who that's? That's the Hamites. So actually, see, when you understand the Lord got everything in order. He gave each one of Noah's sons their time to rule. He let Ham rule first. There's no coincidence that back in the day, those what we call Africans, Hamites, they had great dynasties, like the Egyptians. There's black people. King Tut and all those black people. They had dynasties. Then after that, some of our ancestors, Shem, no other son had dynasty. Now we in Japheth's time, it's his time to rule. He got the dynasty. All them sons we was reading about at first, when we read about at the beginning, when we was reading about sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Medar, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, all them, they ruling now. It's their time. And then after that, when their time is up, it's going to be the Lord's time, forever after that. But it tells you this is the beginning, starting with Nimrod, right? So he started a kingdom, and everybody building. Verse 13.
And Mizraim begat Ludum, and Anamim, and Lehabim, and Naphtuhim, and Pathrazim, and Casluhim, out of whom came Philistim and Caphtorim.
See, these are all what we call Africans. We touched on the Gentiles, which was the Europeans, sons of Japheth. Now we're dealing with Ham. We're just going through, but we're going to put them in order as we touch on their dynasties, because Ham started it off with the kingdoms. Go ahead. Who the ones we're reading about now? Go ahead.
15. And Canaan begat Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth.
See, that's why when the Lord took the promised land from Canaan, he said, you going in, you taking over not just one nation, it was a conglomerate of nations. He told me it was 7 nations. He started naming them all. You know, that they was going to take over. The Gergesites and, you know, all of these different people. These all nations. Go ahead.
And the Jebusite.
Here they go right here.
And the Amorite. And the Girgashite. And the Hivite. And the Archite. And the Sinite.
Go ahead.
And the Arvadite. And the Zemarite. And the Hamathite. And afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad.
See, all of these different families that came from Canaan turned into nations. Go ahead.
And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar unto Gaza.
Go ahead.
As thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah and Zeboim, even unto Lasha. These are the sons of Ham after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations.
Now he said the same thing he said for Japheth. These are the sons of Ham. How? After their families, in their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations. This is when nations began, after the flood. So that's a turning point because the Lord started from scratch, but he did it different. He made nationalities from Noah's 3 sons. Go ahead.
Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber.
So this is Genesis 10 and where we at? 21.
21.
Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber. That's where the word Hebrew come from actually, but go ahead.
The brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born.
See, and he had children. All of them had children, but it mentioned Japheth. So now it's getting to him. This is the third one of Noah's sons, even though he was the eldest. This is the order that they've written here. Go ahead.
The children of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram.
See, a whole lot. This is what you would call, people use the word Semitic. Come from Shem. This is what you would call Semitic people. A lot of Semitic people. Just like it's a lot of Hamites, which you call Africans. It's a lot of Gentiles, or sons of Japheth, which we call European. It's a lot of all these different nations. We got so many nations you can't even count them. Go ahead.
And the children of Aram, Uz, and Hul, and Gether, and Mash, and Arphaxad begat Selah, and Selah begat Eber. And unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided. And his brother's name was Joktan. And Joktan begat Almodad, and Sheleph, and Hazar-Maveth, and Jerah, and Hadaram, and Uzal, and Diklah, and Obal, and Abamiel, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. And their dwelling was from Mesha, as thou goest unto Sephar, a mount of the east. These are the sons of Shem
now
after their...
I'm sorry. These are the sons of Shem now. After their family. So we went through all 3 of them. I just decided to read it all. Sometimes I like to cut it, but sometimes we just read through it. Go ahead.
After their families, after their tongues, in their lands, after their nations.
See, all these different nations came. That's amazing that the Lord made all these different nationalities, languages, colors, and everything, starting with just Noah's 3 sons. That's amazing. But he's telling you he did it right here. Even for years, nations was being born, because Israel wasn't born till years after this. You got to go all the way down to Genesis 26 to when Israel was born. When Isaac and Rebekah had twins, the Lord told Rebekah, 2 nations are in your womb at one time. Both of those boys that you pregnant with, they going to grow into nations. So the Lord was still doing it. That's how we know, of course, Israel came from Shem, because Abraham, when you trace him back, he came from Shem. As simple as that. But now, verse you read 32. Finish 32, I'm sorry.
These are the families of the sons of Noah, after their generations, in their nations. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood.
By these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. So hence the title is From the Flood of Noah to the Kingdom of Jesus. Because we talking nations, we talking rulership. That's what the Lord gave each one. Now go to Genesis, since we're here 15. Just a few chapters later, and this when the Lord, at the same time, the Lord is already telling you what he gonna do in the final analysis. Because he started working with this man that came from Shem, Abram, whose name he changed to Abraham. And he made a promise to Abraham right here. And most people don't keep in mind what the promise is all about. 15 and 12. Go ahead.
And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him.
Go ahead.
And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
Now this is amazing, because of course the Lord is telling Abraham this about a seed being afflicted. Like he got a lot of people, and Abraham didn't have one child. He didn't have one son at this time. That's really what he was complaining about. He didn't have a child. He was telling the Lord, I ain't got no child. You keep telling me I'm going to do this. I ain't got no children. But the Lord told him, you are going to have some. Matter of fact, you ain't going to be able to count them. He said, no. He told him, he said, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them. How many years?
400 years. 400
years. See, a lot of brothers, even some Hebrews to this day, and I initially, when I found out I was Israel, I thought the 400 years was now, you know, what we going through in America and all of this stuff. I was telling people that. I told a policeman was talking to me one time. I was telling them, we going to get out of Babylon when the 400 years up. But that ain't got nothing to do with right now. The 400 years is back in Egypt. That's what he's telling Abraham about once they became a nation. Because there's only one land. We all over the world now. We to the four winds now. So, but he said, your seed shall be stranger in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them, and they going to afflict them 400 years. That's how long they were in Egypt, or going through the affliction anyway. You know, the numbers might vary, but he dealing with affliction. That's another thing. 14, go ahead.
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge.
Nation, one nation. He said, I'm going to judge that nation. Right now, you got to judge all nations because we scattered all over the world. And that's what he's going to do when he come back and establish his kingdom forever. He said, I will judge and what?
And afterwards shall they come out with great substance.
And they're going to come out with great substance. That's what happened when we left Egypt. We took all the riches of Egypt with us. You know why that was happening? See, the Lord is so awesome. He be multitasking. See, we would just think the Lord was blessing Abraham's seed. The Lord, see, that's why you can't understand what God is doing, because God is looking at a big picture sometimes, and we looking at our own little area, and we think everything should work according to our own little area right here, and God dealing with the whole world. So my point is, not only was Israel, when they left Egypt and they went to the promised land, not only was it them, all the Semitic people, all the descendants of Shem inherited land, not just Israel. Lord doing stuff for all these nations. He took care of other people too. Because you know why? Because after he allowed Ham to rule for their time, then when their time was up, it was Shem's time. Bigger than just Israel, all the Shemites, the Semitic people, were ruling. That's what you got to understand, because it was their time. And what happened when Shem's time ended? And now it's time for I'm going to finish. It's time for Japhet, and that's the time we living in now. And we're going to see all of that. And he's going to tell us something right here that's going to bring that home. You at 15 now?
15.
Go ahead.
And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, and thou shalt be buried in a good old age.
See, he told him what's going to happen. He said, but you're going to be buried in a good old age. But now I'm going to tell you something. 16.
But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
Now notice he said something else. He said they're going to come back here in the fourth generation when they get out of Egypt. And the reason why then, he said, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. What does that mean? The iniquity is not yet full. What that show you, brother, sister, every dog has his day. The Lord will give you, it don't matter. The Lord said, look, just like even our life, the Lord know when our life going to be up. We don't know. I'm glad I don't know. We don't know. But the Lord know. And many times like this, he telling you, he gauge it like this Amorite by their iniquity. In other words, the Lord said, I'm going to give them this cup, and when they fill this cup up with sin, that time is up. That can work for us individually in our life, and it work for whole nations. So that's what he mean at verse 16. But in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So in other words, Israel couldn't take over the promised land, the Amorites' land, the Canaanites, Amorites, Jebusites, all those people, until their time was up. They wasn't going to take it over. It's just like nobody going to take over from the Gentiles except the Lord when their time is up. That's how it's going to work. But now, Deuteronomy 1, let's look at that. Since I just said it, let's read it. So you see what's going on. It's a big picture. Deuteronomy 1. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. This is when Israel was finally making it to the promised land after dwelling in the wilderness all that time, because evidently the iniquity of the Amorites is full now. The Lord said, I could displace them. I can kick them out. I couldn't kick them out till I gave them time. It's just like even Satan got time. Didn't the Bible say that? The Lord said he gave Satan a short time, a little while. That's what it said. He knoweth that he got but a little time. But when Jesus showed up casting out devils all over the place, them devils were speaking through people. They said, what you doing here? You come to torment us before the time. Like they know you're supposed to give us some time now. They want that time. That must be something. You is immortal spirit being, but you still, you want whatever little time you got before you go to hell. That's rough, ain't it? Deuteronomy 1:1. Go ahead.
These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel, and Laban, and Hazeroth, and Dizahab. There are 11 days' journey from Horeb by the way of Mount Seir unto Kadesh Barnea. And it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month, that Moses spake unto the children of Israel, according unto all that the Lord had given him in commandment unto them.
See, they stayed out there 40 years. Go ahead.
After he had slain Sihon the king of the Amorites, which dwelt in Heshbon, and Og the king of Bashan, which dwelt at Ashtaroth and Edrei. On this side Jordan, in the land of Moab, began Moses to declare this law, saying, the Lord our God spake unto us in Horeb, saying, ye have dwelt long enough in this mount. Turn you, and take your journey, and go to the mount of the Amorites, and unto all the places nigh thereunto, in the plain, in the hills, and in the vale, and in the south, and by the seaside, to the land of the Canaanites, and unto Lebanon, unto the great river, the river Euphrates.
So now they on their way to the promised land after being in the desert 40 years. And he told them, but because he had promised this, going back to what he promised Abraham. But we saw it was a timetable involved. He said because the iniquity of the Amorites wasn't full. So it wasn't even going to happen in Abraham's time. That's why Abraham was just a stranger in the promised land. He didn't inherit it personally. Go ahead, verse 8.
Behold, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give unto them and to their seed after them.
See, that's the promises he made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He was fulfilling it, and what he told Abraham, his name was Abram then in Genesis 15, they was going to be a stranger in the land that's not theirs, and they're going to come out after they afflicted 400 years, and they're going to serve me. They're going to come to this place where that was being fulfilled right here. They were on their way into that land. But remember, we have left the kingdom that the Hamites had, like Nimrod. He started kingdoms. Hey, their time was up, brothers and sisters. Now it's time for some new kingdoms to come up. And if some new kingdoms going to come up, they literally got to take over from the old kingdom. So Israel took over from who? Some Hamites. The Canaanites were Hamites. But what I'm telling you is it wasn't just Israel. It's a big picture. That's how our brother Ishmael, who we call Arabs, that's how they got power. Even Esau, the so-called Jews, Edom, they got power at this time. Moab, Ammon, all of these, the sons that came from Shem, it was their time to shine. Not just Israel. But first, before we go, let's go right to Deuteronomy 2. We're going to skip Acts. Because Acts tell you that the church, that's where the Lord started everything with Israel. Because the Lord doing a personal thing with Israel. But I'm telling you, he dealing with all people. So let's go right, keep it moving. Go right into Acts, Deuteronomy 2:1. Go ahead, because we got a lot of reading to do. Go ahead.
Then we turned and took our journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea, as the Lord spake unto me, and we compassed Mount Seir many days. And the Lord spake unto me, saying, ye have compassed this mountain long enough. Turn ye northward, and command thou the people, saying, ye are to pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau, which dwelt in Seir.
Okay, so look. Israel getting ready, headed to their land. but they are bypassing Esau, who I just mentioned. They bypassing Esau. So, but everything centers around Israel because that's God's promises that he made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's why you can read Acts 7 on your own. It talk about this is where the church was started at, in the desert, in the wilderness. That's where everything began for God's church, right here. But now, here he said, you pass. Before they even got there, he said, look, on your way to the promised land, you're going to go past your brother Esau. You've been out here dwelling 40 years. That's long enough. You're going to go past your brethren, the children of Esau, at verse 4, which dwell in Seir. Pay attention to how they got there, though, which is just south of our land. Seir, Esau land, was south of our land. That's how they was able to ease up into our land once we got kicked into captivity. Go ahead.
And they should be afraid of you.
He said, look, they're going to be afraid of you because the Lord was doing a thing with Israel after he destroyed Pharaoh's army. But go ahead.
Take ye good heed unto yourselves, therefore. Meddle not with them.
Now, wait a minute. The Lord told Israel, don't meddle with Esau. Why? You know, so you would think with this God's people, they can have whatever they want. Oh, you can't have whatever you want. I got something specific for you. What I gave them, that belonged to them. I gave that to them. That's why the Lord said, don't meddle with them. Go ahead.
For I will not give you of their land.
See, I'm not giving you of their land. Go ahead.
No, not so much as a footbreadth. Because I have given unto Seir, I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for a possession. Ye shall buy meat of them for money, that ye may eat. And ye shall also buy water of them for money, that ye may drink. For the Lord thy God hath blessed thee in all the works of thine hand. He knoweth thy walking through this great wilderness. These 40 years the Lord thy God hath been with thee. Thou hast lacked nothing. And when we passed from our brethren, the children of Esau, which dwelt in Seir, through the way of the plain from Elath, and from Ezion-Geber, we turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab.
And now we passing by some more Semitic people. How all these people get here? Did they been here? Not actually. We're going to find out how they got there. But Israel passed by. So really the point is, as far as the Semitic people, the ones that came from Shem, Israel was a latecomer into getting their country. All these other Semitic people already sitting in their land when Israel going by. But how they get there? The Bible going to tell us. Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto me, distress not the Moabites, neither contend with them in battle.
Now that come from Lot's nephew. Abraham's nephew, Lot, I mean. He produced, from his own daughter, he produced the Moabites and the Ammonites. Go ahead.
For I will not give thee of their land for a possession, because I have given Ar unto the children of Lot for a possession. The Emims dwelt there in times past.
Wait a minute, he getting specific now. He said, look, I'm not giving you of their land either. That's their land. And then he told us, he said, don't distress the Moabites, don't contend with them in battle. I won't give you their land for a possession because I have given unto the children of Lot for a possession. Then verse 10 says it, brothers and sisters. He said, the Emims dwelt therein in times past. Go ahead.
A people great and many and tall as the Anakims.
See, who were the Emims, brothers and sisters? These were Hamites. Some giants, big, tall people too. So that's amazing how scary Israel is. Israel got over there and seen the Canaanites, and they said, oh, they giants, they got iron chariots. They were scared. All those Hamites was giants, and these people already took care of their giants. They already took them over. Because the Lord was with all of these people. He wasn't just with Israel. So he said the Emims dwelt there in time past, a great people, and many, as tall as the Anakims, verse 11.
Which also were accounted giants as the Anakims, but the Moabites called them Emims.
Go ahead, verse 12.
The Horims also dwelt in Seir before time.
Oh, the Horims dwelt in Esau land before Esau got there. Some more Hamites. See, these people didn't always dwell in these places and run these lands. They took it over. You know why? Because it was Shem's time to shine after Ham time was up. We talking about Noah's 3 sons. See, the Lord orchestrated everything. It have to be if he say he controlled the kingdoms of this earth. He set up over the earth who he wanted to rule it. He orchestrated it all. He gave everybody a chance to run it, and haven't anybody really done a good job. We had a good try for a little bit. Israel did, because we were God's chosen, but even we blew the mission, and he had to kick us out. See, that's what boiled down to. You mess up, you're getting kicked out. That's the way the Lord do it. I give you your time, then your time is up, you getting the boot. Like the people before you got the boot. Remember, somebody dwelt in the promised land before we got there. What did the Lord do? The Lord said, I gave them the boot. I gave them the boot. Their time was up. See, it wasn't just about us. It was that their time was up. That's what it was about. Every dog have his day. But go ahead.
But the children of Esau succeeded them.
Oh, the children of Esau succeeded them Horims, them Horites. The children of Esau succeeded them and did what?
When they had destroyed them from before them.
And destroyed them from before them. Go ahead.
And dwelt in their stead, as Israel did unto the land of his possession, which the Lord gave unto them.
See, all of them. See, it wasn't just Israel, though, we seeing. Go ahead.
Now rise up, said I, and get you over the brook Zered. And we went over the brook Zered. And the space in which we came from Kadesh Barnea until we were come over the brook Zered was 38 years, until all the generation of the men of war were wasted out from among the hosts, as the Lord sware unto them. For indeed the hand of the Lord was against them, to destroy them from amongst the hosts, until they were consumed. So it came to pass, when all the men of war were consumed and dead from among the people, that the Lord spake unto me, saying, Thou art to pass over through Ar, the coast of Moab, this day.
He mentioned Moab again. He going to get specific again, and then he going to deal with his brother Ammon. Go ahead.
And when thou comest nigh over against the children of Ammon, distress them not, nor meddle with them. For I will not give thee of the land of the children of Ammon any possession, because I have given it unto the children of Lot for a possession.
See, the Lord keeps saying, I have done this. See, it's bigger than Israel. We thought it was just Israel. The Lord just gave us the promised land. We messed up. Look, he gave everybody land they got. The Lord, he run the whole world. Go ahead.
That also was accounted a land of giants. Giants dwelt therein in old time.
See, all them Hamites was giants. They known for being tall. Not no 3-story buildings tall like some of this cartoon stuff they be having. But taller than the norm. You know, you get somebody 10, 11 feet, that's tall as ever. That's a giant. You ain't used to that. Got a duck when they walk in the room. But go ahead.
And the Ammonites called them Zamzumim.
And the Ammonites called them Zamzumims. That's they was like, these people, something else. But the Ammonites kicked them out. That's why Israel had to deal with their giants. And when they first saw them, they were scared. We can't deal with them giants. Look, everybody had to deal with giants. That's how they got their land. Go ahead.
A people great and many and tall as the Anakims, but the Lord destroyed them before them. And they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead.
See, that's what the Ammonites did. That's what the Moabites did. That's what the Edomites did. So Israel was just in the circle with all the descendants of Noah's son, who? Shem. We started ruling after the Hamites' time was up. That's why he said the iniquity of the Amorites, which was Hamites, wasn't full. So we had to wait till the Lord said, okay, the clock ticking on them. When their time is up, go. Y'all could go in there. It's y'all time. And all them Shemites went in there and took over from all those Hamites. Now it was Israel and they other Semitic brothers' turns to rule. Until what? Till Japhet turn came. Now we in the Bible even called it the times of the Gentiles. It's their time. Go ahead.
22. As he did to the children of Esau, which dwelt in Seir, when he destroyed the Horims from before them, and they succeeded them, and dwelt in their stead even unto this day. And the Avims, which dwelt in Hazarim, even unto Azah, the Caphtorims, which came forth out of Caphtor, destroyed them, and dwelt in their stead.
Go ahead.
Rise ye up, take your journey, and pass over the river Arnon. Behold, I have given into thine hand Sihon the Amorite, the king of Heshbon, and his land.
See, he giving it to him now. Remember, he said the iniquity of the Amorites wasn't full when he was talking to Abraham. Not yet. Go ahead.
Begin to possess it, and contend with him in battle.
Go ahead.
This day will I begin to put the dread of thee and the fear of thee upon the nations that are under the whole heaven, who shall hear report of thee and shall tremble and be in anguish because of thee.
See, everybody was shook because of Israel, the Lord did some mighty stuff with them. Go ahead.
And I sent messengers out of the wilderness of Kedemoth unto Sihon, king of Heshbon, with words of peace, saying, let me pass through thy land. I will go along by the highway. I will neither.
But this was going to be a setup because they want to deal with him. They wasn't going to touch Esau and the Ammonites and the Moabites. They wasn't going to touch their land. But they about to deal with this because these are Hamites. Go ahead.
I will neither turn unto the right hand nor to the left. Thou shalt sell me meat for money that I may eat, and give me water for money that I may drink. Only I will pass through on my feet. As the children of Esau, which dwelt in Seir, and the Moabites, which dwelt in Ar, did unto me, until I should pass over Jordan into the land which the Lord our God giveth us. But Sihon, king of Heshbon, would not let us pass by him. For the Lord thy God hardened his spirit, and made his heart obstinate.
Go ahead.
That he might deliver him into thy hand, and as appeareth at this day.
Just like it happened. But go ahead.
And the Lord said unto me, behold, I have begun to give Sihon and his land before thee.
Go ahead.
Begin to possess, that thou mayest inherit his land. Then Sihon came out against us, he and all his people, to fight at Jahaz. And the Lord our God delivered him before us, and we smote him, and his sons, and all his people. And we took all his cities at that time, and utterly destroyed the men, and the women, and the little ones. Of every city, we left none to remain.
See, they took it over. It was their time to take it over. And let's show you the Lord had already said that when he warned Israel when they went in, Leviticus 18, just look at this right quick. Show you how he had warned Israel on their way to the promised land. Like, look, I'm giving you this land, but let me tell you something. The people that was here before, they messed up in this land. Don't you mess up. Because just like they got kicked out, it's automatic. Especially dealing with the Lord, with the promised land. That's even more special than the average nation. Leviticus 18 and verse 18. Go ahead, read it.
Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister, to vex her, to uncover her nakedness beside the other in her lifetime.
So he's giving them all these laws, and we're not really here to touch on it, but just to show the Lord did give Israel laws on how to operate in their land so they wouldn't get kicked out. Because other people did whatever they wanted to do. That's what the Hamites did. And he going to tell you that. He says, so when it come to marriage, he said, don't take a wife to her sister to vex her, to uncover her nakedness besides the other in her lifetime. So even when some of them had more than one wife, he said, don't marry two sisters. Even Jacob even did that, but he wasn't trying to do it. But he made a law for that particularly. But go ahead, what else?
Also, thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness, as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. Okay, so if somebody is unclean, your wife unclean, then you don't approach to lay down with her while she put apart for her uncleanness. Go ahead. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife.
Well, that's adultery, so of course you're not supposed to do that. All of these laws is to follow the Lord, of course, right? But also just on GP so you don't get kicked out this land. He going to show you that. Go ahead.
To defile thyself with her. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord.
That's that false worship. They was killing their kids, offering it up, making sacrifices to false gods. Go ahead.
Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination.
Hey, now that's going on wholesale, but it's been going on. It's just wholesale now. But it's in the Bible. Don't do it. That's going to pollute your land. See, this is how you know the times where the Gentiles got to be coming to an end too. Because they doing the same thing. People talk about, well, you got to know your history so you don't repeat the mistakes. And everybody repeating the same mistakes. It's a shame. Go ahead.
Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith.
Oh, they doing that too. Go ahead.
Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion.
Go ahead.
Defile not yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you.
Oh, in all this the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. The ones that was there, the Hamites, the Amorites. That's why he said the iniquity of the Amorites is not full. I can't kick them out yet. But when they get up to here, I'm going to kick them out and you're going to get that land. And that's what happened. Now he warning Israel. Go ahead.
And the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it. And the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants.
You see what the Lord said? He said, I visit the iniquity of the land. Matter of fact, the land vomit out her inhabitants. Like it's just automatic with this. You just can't stay here doing wrong. It won't work. The land gonna vomit you out. In other words, Lord, I'm gonna come with that big boot and kick you into slavery. And here we are. Go ahead.
You should therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations.
Don't do any of these abominations. I tell you all that stuff that people doing now think it's okay. It's an abomination. Go ahead.
Neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you.
It was always strangers, but they had to follow the same rules. Other nationalities, you're going to be with Israel, you got to follow the same law. Go ahead.
For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. That the land spew not you out also when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you.
See, that the land don't spew you out when you defile it, like it's spewing out the people that's here before you. Same thing. That's how I work with the Lord. Go to Ezekiel 35 now. So we should get the idea that the Lord been doing a big thing with nations, allowing them to rule at a set time and give them a chance to do right or do wrong. And when their time is up, the Lord give it to somebody else. That's how he been doing. Not just with Israel. That's why it's not an accident or a coincidence that what we call white people or Gentiles rule the whole world everywhere. You think that's just happened? See, that's what fools like a lot of Israel, they subconsciously think that they may be deficient and not as smart as other people. No. It's their time. It's their time to rule. Once you know that answers all the questions. But not Ezekiel 35:1. This is what the Lord, he got mad with Israel and what was about to take place with the other people. Ezekiel 35:1. Go ahead.
Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it.
Now Mount Seir, that's Esau. That's the land he had. But Esau, when we messed up, Esau slid into our land. And that's not going to be good in the end, because we didn't touch their land when we went past it on the way to our land. We read that in Deuteronomy 1 and 2. Go ahead.
And say unto it, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord.
He said, I'm going to get you. Now he's talking to Esau. Call it Mount Seir. Remember, before Esau got it, Mount Seir was occupied by the Horites. The Horites. They were the ones. Some Hamites had it. They got it. Esau got it. They inherited it. They kicked them out. They got it. But then they took advantage of our bad situation, which is what the Lord got a problem with. He got a problem with that. He's going to address that. And the Lord said, I will lay your cities waste. Thou shalt be desolate. Thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Why? Why is the Lord going to hurt Esau like this? Mount Seir, verse 5.
Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end.
Oh, that's what I really wanted to get to. He said, because you took advantage of a bad situation with Israel. You shed the blood of the children of Israel. What time was it? He said, in the time of their calamity. It was our calamity. We got in trouble with God. Our calamity, but you shouldn't take advantage of someone's calamity. And that's what they did. He said, you took advantage and shed the blood. He said, the sword in the time, by force of the sword in the time of their calamity. Notice the last phrase in there, in the time that their iniquity had it in. the Lord said, hey, it's reached the end. I'm going to deal with Israel, but now don't get yourself in no trouble. And that's what they've done. So just like the Amorites' iniquity was not full and it had to be filled before Israel took over, when the Lord was fed up with Israel in the time of iniquity, because the Lord gave everybody a time to do your thing until your time is up. And then your iniquity having end, the Lord said, okay, time to punch out. And that's what happened. So that's what happened with Israel, but he throwing in what Esau did. Go to, let's look at it. Go to Luke 19 now, New Testament. Luke 19. Because Jesus came along clarifying that our time was up. He put the nail in the coffin because it was a little bit left when he got there. Matter of fact, most people went into slavery. Some had came back, and that's what was there existing when Jesus came on the scene. Luke 19 and 41, go ahead, read it.
And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it.
Now, this is amazing. This stuff is so important to the Lord that he wept over it, but the average person don't know this is important. He's not weeping over heaven. You know, people say, oh, we're going to heaven. We're going to heaven. And people say, no, you're not. Heaven is coming here. Thy kingdom is coming to the earth. It's all about this kingdom. That's why the title of this lesson is From the Flood of Noah to the Kingdom of Jesus. He going to set a kingdom on this earth. This kingdom going to last forever. It ain't going to be taken over like Nimrod's kingdom got taken over by more people. Like Israel's kingdom back in the day got taken over and got kicked out. It's not going to be taken over. But look what he said here. He said, when he beheld the city come near, he beheld the city and wept over it. He cried over Jerusalem. That's how important it is. Anytime you cry over something, and even Jesus, it must be important, right? People need to understand. That's why he said, don't even swear by Jerusalem. It's the city of the great, because of course we're talking about Jerusalem. It's the city of the great king. People need to understand really what's important to the Lord. But go ahead, 42.
Saying, if thou hast known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. For the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side.
See, he foretelling the future. He prophesying of Israel's final destruction, which happened about 40 years after this, after he made this statement. When the Romans destroyed any Israelites left in the land, tore everything down, and sent the rest into slavery. And he's going to tell you that. But he agonizing over it. He said, ooh, if you only would have listened. But it's like we read, brothers and sisters, the land is going to spew you out. Just like it spewed the other people out. He said, if you only would have known how to have peace by being obedient to me, but now they hear from thine eye. 43 said, for the days shall come upon thee, that thine enemies shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side. That's how they do. They sealed you off, and then just waited until they can break in and take over everything. 44.
And shall lay thee even with the ground.
And they're going to flatten this city. He talking to Israel, Jerusalem, and to the occupants, what's going to happen? And lay thee even with the ground, and what else?
And thy children within thee.
And your children within thee. Go ahead.
And they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another. Because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation.
See, all this had to happen. But now, we're going to go to Jeremiah 25, and we're going to come back to Luke in a minute. Do scriptures down. But we're going to show it was not just Israel. Again, just like when Israel inherited land, it was a lot of Shemites, Semitic people, inherited land as well. Well, when Israel got kicked out, they wasn't alone. Other people was getting dealt with because it was no longer Shem's time. Ham had his day. Shem had his day. Now it's time for Japheth. Time is their day now. Notice what happened. Jeremiah 25, the Lord summed it up real good with Jeremiah here, because that's when the first batch of the Judah was gone into slavery. The 10 tribes already been gone, and in Jeremiah's day, the rest of them went into captivity. Only a handful came back some 70, 80 years later after when they went in during Jeremiah time. But now, 25:1, Jeremiah 25:1, go ahead.
The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah. That was the 1st year of Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon.
Go ahead.
The which Jeremiah the prophet spake unto all the people of Judah, and to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, From the 30th year of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, even unto this day, that is the 23rd year, the word of the Lord hath come unto me, and I have spoken unto you, rising early and speaking, but ye have not hearkened.
See, Israel hard-headed. Go ahead.
And the Lord hath sent unto you all his servants the prophets, rising early and sending them, but ye have not hearkened, nor inclined your ear to hear.
We hate to hear the truth, but go ahead.
They said, Turn ye again now every one from his evil way.
This is what everybody been saying. It's contingent on your actions. Go ahead.
And from the evil of your doings, and dwell in the land that the Lord hath given unto you and to your fathers forever and ever. And go not after other gods to serve them. And
see, stay in the land. Do right so you can stay in the land. And one of the things, go not after other gods to serve them. And what?
And to worship them.
That's one of the #1 things get you in trouble with God, false worship. And we got this season now that that's what everybody caught up on. Happy holidays. But we dealt with the Lord's holy days. But go ahead.
And provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands.
Go ahead.
And I will do you no hurt.
And I will do you no hurt. Somebody need to tell their neighbor, God will do you some hurt. But go ahead.
Yet ye have not hearkened unto me, saith the Lord, that ye might provoke me to anger with the works of your hands to your own hurt.
To your own hurt, verse 8.
Therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts, because ye have not heard my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord.
I'm going to take all the families of the north. Notice he said all the families of the north. So he talking about how I'm going to jam Israel, but we going to see it wasn't just Israel. He said, I'm going to send him take all the families of the north. Here come the Gentiles now. The sons of Japhet, is their time now. Go ahead.
Saith the Lord. And Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about.
And not just Israel, against all these nations round about. Go ahead.
And will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment, and a hissing, and perpetual desolation.
Okay, let's name some names now. Skip down to verse 15, save us some time. But let's name some names. Go ahead.
For thus saith the Lord God of Israel unto me, Take the wine cup of this fury at my hand, and cause all the nations to whom I send thee to drink it.
See, he said nations going to drink. See, Israel got to suffer what they did, but everybody's time is up in this area. Everybody's time is up. Because Ham, the one son that haven't ran nothing yet, Japhet, his time got to come. Just like Ham ruled, and then Shem ruled, now Japhet got to rule. Go ahead.
And they shall drink and be moved and be mad because of the sword that I will send among them.
Go ahead.
Then took I the cup of the Lord's hand and made all the nations to drink unto whom the Lord has sent me.
Well, who drinking? Starting off right here. Because this when the times of the Gentiles really began back here. Jesus was putting a nail in the coffin for Israel, which was by the Gentiles. But hey, this when their time began. They had been running. The Romans was running Israel when Jesus came. That's why they paid taxes to the Romans. In their own land, they paid taxes to some more people. That shows you who was running. Go ahead.
To wit, Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, and the kings thereof, and the princes thereof, to make them a desolation, an astonishment, an hissing, and a curse, as it is this day.
But that's Jerusalem, but let's see who else.
Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and his servants, and his princes, and all his people.
Oh, even Pharaoh and them, hey, they gonna have to bow down. Verse 20.
And all the mingled people, and all the kings of the land of Uz, and all the kings of the land of the Philistines, and Ashkelon, and Azza.
Because some of these Hamites, they still had little fragmented kingdoms, even though it was a time of Shem, but they still had a little something going. But overall, just like Israel, they kept a bunch of people in check, took over lands, But other people still had a little something because they dealt with the Philistines a lot. Go ahead.
And Ekron, and the remnant of Ashdod, Edom and Moab,
Edom and Moab. And who else?
and the children of Ammon.
And he keep going on, but he talking about these people drinking from this cup, meaning Nebuchadnezzar going to deal with all of them. Let's go to Zechariah 1. Zechariah 1. But he said, I'm going to bring all the families of the north. Somewhere he said, the destroyer of the Gentiles, that's in Jeremiah 2, is on his way. He come up from the thicket. He's on his way, and he going to destroy you all. That's what happened. This says it pretty plain, because this when the Lord get into the Gentile dynasty now. But you had, starting with Ham, which was the Ethiopian, Nimrod. You had dynasties back then. You move on, when their time was up, then you came with Shem, with Israel, and Moab, and Edom. All of them had dynasties. Now you move down, and it's the time of the Gentiles, Japhet. Time for their dynasty. Notice this, Zechariah 1 and 18. Go ahead.
Then lifted I up mine eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns.
4 horns. Go ahead.
And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. And the Lord showed me 4 carpenters. Then said I, what come these to do?
So 4 horns is one thing, then 4 carpenters something else. Well, the horns, he answered the question. He said, what are these horns? He said, these are the horns that have scattered Israel, Judah, and Jerusalem. These are ones that have scattered it. Go ahead.
21. Then said I, what come these to do?
Now, then he showed them 4 carpenters. And so he's going to reiterate the whole thing, the horns and the carpenter. 4 horns, 4 carpenters. 21, then he said, what come these to do? He really talking about the carpenters, which is, you can deal with that in Revelation. But he's going to give you the whole backdrop. Go ahead.
And he spake, saying, these are the horns which have scattered Judah.
That's the 4 horns that scattered Judah. So that what?
So that no man did lift up his head. But these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it.
Oh, but now in the end, the Lord going to kick the Gentiles out. Because right now, we are living in the times of the Gentiles. He got 4 horns because we know that he broke the Gentiles down into 4 great dynasties, which is Babylon, Medo-Persian, Greece, and Rome. So those are 4 horns, but in the end, he's going to get rid of them. He said, these 4 carpenters I come to fray to cast out the horns of the Gentiles. We read in Genesis 10 where the Gentiles started at. The word became used loose. Sometimes it referred to Hamites as Gentiles. Black folks call themselves Gentiles sometimes. It became used loose, but technically it's the sons of Japhet. According to Genesis 10, we read it. So you got to understand that. It's just like Jew became used loose, even though it started with those that came from Judah. But then it became loose and would fly to any Israelite because they was only fragment of Israel as a country left. So we got 4 horns. That's them 4 Gentile nations. That's what he said. But notice he used the term, but these are come to fray to cast out the horns of the Gentiles. That's when Jesus' kingdom come, when he cast out the horns of the Gentiles out of Israel. Because Jesus doing his thing, of course, through us, through Israel. That's who he doing it through. But now, let's make sure. Go to Romans 11. Because he got to cast out the horns of the Gentiles now. Horns generally represent, in the Bible, talk about kings. You're going to get rid of that king. That's why the title is From the Flood of Noah to the Kingdom of Jesus. It was all set in motion way back then. When the Lord started making these nations, and they started having governments and kingdoms, he had a plan from day one. Romans 11 and 1. So people think Israel don't matter no more. Now Jesus is an Israelite. He coming as a tribe, lion of the tribe of Judah. He coming, he working on Israel's behalf. But go ahead, 11 and 1.
I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid.
See, God forbid. He was telling these Romans, which were from the ruling party now, they really needed a message like this because they It's easy for them to think they're supposed to run everything, including the church. No, you can run everything. You can't run the church. You can run it in the ground. Hint, hint. But go ahead.
For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
So Israel still matter, and there's nothing wrong with it. He said, I'm an Israelite. You tell somebody you're an Israelite now, they look at you like you crazy. But it's a good thing if you really serving God in spirit and truth. I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin. The point is, with all of this, even though the Lord kicked us out, it's the Gentiles' time. God's still not done with Israel, because that's who he's setting his kingdom up through. Go ahead.
God not cast away his people which he foreknew.
He haven't done it. Go ahead.
What ye not what the scripture saith of Elias, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying.
See what I mean? The Lord always got him some in the cut that's on point. But at the same time, let's sum it up at verse 25. Because the point is, that's who the Lord's kingdom is coming through. Israel. Go ahead.
For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened in Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in.
Until the fullness of the Gentiles. That's what he said about the Amorites. He said the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full, right? He said, so Israel going to be messed up a little bit, in part. Blindness in part, because some Israelites still see like we do. Blindness in part is happening to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles. They got to have a full time to run, like the Amorites, like Israel iniquity had an end. He said, to the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Go ahead, 26. Then what's going to happen?
And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob.
See, Jesus coming out of Israel. He came out of Israel. He coming back for Israel. He said he's only sent to the lost sheep. That's why in Acts 1, you read on your own, the disciples asked Jesus, will you restore again the kingdom to Israel? Not yet. It wasn't time back then. It's coming now. He's coming back now. But the Gentiles' time got to be up. Let's go to, so that's what he said. So all Israel shall be saved. That shall come out of Zion, the deliverer. That's where Jesus comes from. And shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. He going to get Jacob straight. Because everything hinges on them promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But go to Luke 21. Back to Luke. Luke 21. He used the term the fullness of the Gentiles. Let's look at that right here. Jesus used it. When we was on our way out, Jesus said, y'all on y'all way out. And now it's the Gentiles' time. But that's going to come to an end. Every dog has his day. And you could see it's winding down. Man, losing their mind. 21 and 24. Look at this.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations.
Now that's us. That's what happened to us. The land spewed us out, right? We got led away captive all over the world. Not just one country, worldwide. 4 winds. Fall by the edge of the sword. They killed some, and the rest got led away captive, even on slave ships, to all nations. You had to get on some ships to get to all nations. But in the meantime, what happened to your capital? Go ahead.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Oh, Jerusalem's going to be trodden down of the Gentiles forever? Never going to be no end in sight. No, it's end in sight, isn't it? See, it's light at the end of the tunnel. It's appointed time like everybody else had their time, right? He said Jerusalem will be trodden down. It's not good what's going on now. In Jerusalem or worldwide. Trodden down of the Gentiles. That's who time it is. And he told you that. He said, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Everybody had a time, starting with Ham, then going to Shem, and then Gentiles, Japhet. Then the Lord going to take over, and he taking over through us, through Israel. But now, go to Isaiah, 25. Because notice how he fast forward. Now, pay attention. He took us from slavery, led away captive, and the Gentiles taking over, trodden down, all the way till their time is up. And he fast forward to when their time is up, what's happening when the Gentile time is fulfilled? Go ahead.
And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon.
You mean the Lord coming back when their time is up? Exactly. It's his turn now. That's why the title is from the flood of Noah. Started with all those nations that the Lord made from Noah's 3 sons. All of this what we got now to Jesus taking over in the end. He let them run it. Like he said he'd put over the world who he want to put over the world. And he done it in order. So now that's why that fast forward. It didn't really fast forward because he took you, he said it's not going to be over until the times of the Gentiles will fulfill. And then he took you right to when it's fulfilled. When it's fulfilled, you're going to know it's fulfilled because the sky going to roll back. You're going to know their time is up because this is not another Noah, one of Noah's sons taking over. This is the Lord himself taking over. And fortunately for us, he's redeeming us in the process because he set everything up through us. And there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars. Go ahead.
And upon the earth, distress of nations.
And upon the earth, distress of nations. Go ahead.
With perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring.
With perplexity, the sea and the waves roar. It's going to be drama upon drama when the Lord come back. And we getting close. We know we getting close. Isaiah 54. Isaiah 54. See, when he do this thing, he even going to refer back. He going to say, this going to be like, Israel, I've been hurting you bad. I've been hurting you bad. I kicked you out into slavery. But I'm going to have mercy on you in the end. And I'm going to have mercy on you just like I had mercy after the flood. After I killed all those people, I had mercy. He going to refer us back to that because that's a good example. Isaiah 54 and 17. I'm going to read this. I want to read this first because it's a shame that a lot of people like to take a verse and apply it generally to anybody and apply it to themselves. You know, like an individual. I like this verse. See, this is what God said. But you got to realize who is really talking about. Even if you try to fit yourself in there, don't get away from the context of what it's really about. In short, everything centers around Israel. This is about Israel. So it's a shame if you ignore the significance of Israel and you want to take a verse that's talking about Israel and take it for your own, you know, like it's about Baptists or something. I don't know. What? 54 and 17. This is that verse right here. All y'all heard this verse before because it's showing you the power of the Lord. But understand, he's referring specifically to Israel. If you could fit in there, that's fine. I don't care. Know what it's talking about, though. Verse 17.
No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper.
See, everybody heard it. No weapon. They got songs about this, right? Want to hear it? No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. Now, that's good. We could say, okay, I believe that for myself. We could say that. But at least acknowledge the context of it. That he's dealing with Israel here. The nation who he been scattered to the four winds for our disobedience. No weapon. See, this is what we can rely on now. We got all this madness going on. They using bio weapons, all kind of madness going to go on in this world until the Lord come. But hey, if you trust in the Lord, you can overcome it all. Why? No weapon formed against thee shall prosper. Go ahead.
And every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment, thou shalt condemn.
And that means somebody going to get up in judgment and say something about you, right? You'll be able to condemn it. Go ahead.
This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord.
See, this is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me. But let's back up and see who this whole chapter is really dealing with. Back up to verse 1 and go ahead.
Sing, O barren, thou that didst not bear. Break forth into singing and cry aloud, that thou didst not travail with child. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, saith the Lord.
See, dealing with Israel. He said, look, the Israel, since we've been in captivity, we've been having kids as more than we was in the land doing good. More are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife. He talking about in the land as opposed to being kicked out into desolation into slavery. Verse 2.
Enlarge the place of thy tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thine habitations. Spare not, lengthen thy cords, and strengthen thy stakes. For thou shalt break forth on the right hand and on the left, and thy seed shall inherit the Gentiles.
Oh, and thy seed shall inherit what? He
Inherit.
talking about when we come back. When Jesus come back and his kingdom is established, he going to bring Israel back. That's why in Acts, the 1st chapter, Peter and the apostles asked Jesus, will you restore the kingdom to Israel now? And Jesus let them know it wasn't time for it back then. That was 2,000 years ago. He haven't done it yet, but he on his way. But that's what he said. He said, your seed shall inherit the Gentiles. Why the Gentiles? Because they got it all right. They run it. It's their time. Go ahead.
And make the desolate cities to be inhabited.
And we're going to make the desolate cities to be inhabited. Go ahead.
Fear not, for thou shalt not be ashamed, neither be thou confounded, for thou shalt not be put to shame.
Go ahead.
For thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth, and shalt not remember the reproach of thy widowhood anymore.
Go ahead.
For thy maker is thine husband.
Oh, thy maker is thine husband. Go ahead.
The Lord of hosts is his name.
See, that's a blessing. The one that create and control everything has chosen us. He deal with the whole world, all nations, give them all what they supposed to get. Everybody in the world, but he chose one people to work his thing through. Go ahead.
And thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel.
That's right. Go ahead.
The God of the whole earth shall he be called.
See, that's what he is, the God of the whole earth, though. Go ahead.
For the Lord hath called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth, when thou was refused, said thy God.
See, we got kicked out. The Lord said, yeah, I kicked you out. I hurt you because you went contrary to me. But the Lord bringing you back. The Lord had called you a wife of the youth when thou was refused, saith God. But what is that like now? Verse 7.
For a small moment have I forsaken thee.
See, the Lord said, it ain't nothing. It ain't no long time. See, to us it seemed like forever. Seemed like we ain't known nothing but slavery. We'd have forgot we had a land. Forgot who we are. But the Lord says just a small moment. For a small moment have I forsaken thee. But what?
But with great mercies will I gather thee.
But with great mercies I'm going to gather you. Go ahead.
In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment.
In a little wrath I hid my face from thee. Lord said, I'm going to let you have your way. He said, I'm going to hide from you and see how your end turn out. Well, he did that. He said, in a little wrath I hid my face from thee. But what's the joy going to be like now? Go ahead.
But with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee.
Go ahead.
Saith the Lord thy Redeemer.
But with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, said the Lord thy Redeemer. And what is this all like? Speaking of what happened in the beginning. Go ahead.
For this is as the waters of Noah unto me.
He said, this just like the waters of Noah unto me. I drowned everybody, and then I had mercy on those that was left. I'm going to do the same thing. Go ahead.
For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee.
He said, look, for as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, he said he won't never drown the earth again like that, so have I sworn that I will not be wroth, that's angry, with thee, nor rebuke thee. Talk about Israel. Once he have mercy, he having mercy forever. And he going to have to come back, but he going to hurt the earth again like he did with that flood. This time it's going to be with fire. Like the brother wrote a book. I wanted to read that book back when I was younger. I was new in the world. I said, let me read this book. The Fire Next Time, James Baldwin. I thought he might was going to say something about this. I think he was just playing on words because I read the book. It ain't had nothing to do with this. But that was a good title, The Fire Next Time. Because he drowned, man. He coming with that fire this time to fix things. He going to burn it right. Daniel 8. Daniel 8. Daniel 8 and verse 23. But he can't come until the times of the Gentiles is up. And we getting close. We can see that. The end is near. 8 and 23. He talking about it here. Go ahead.
And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance, and understanding dark sentences shall stand up.
Oh, he said in the latter time of their kingdom, meaning he talking about the Gentiles' kingdom. This thing started with Nimrod establishing the kingdom from Ham. Then it went through Israel and the Shemite kingdoms. Now we in the times of the Gentiles, and this is the end of theirs. In the latter time of theirs, this is Gentile. When the notice when the transgressors are come to the full, the Lord said, that cup is full again. It then got up to here. It's filled up. Now, this is the final punishment for sin and taking over of the world. That's why the title from the flood of Noah to the kingdom of Jesus. This is the big walupa. This is it right here. But that's what he said. In the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full. Like the iniquity of the Amorites wasn't full. When it's full, it's a wrap, right? They got the boot, right? Israel got the boot when their iniquity had it in. Now the Gentile time is up. The transgressors are come to the full. A crazy king. This is this man of sin that's going to move to Jerusalem. Last mistake he going to been made. Besides making people take the mark. He said a king of fierce kind of understanding dark sin. He knows some secret stuff, some hidden stuff that the average person don't have a clue about. He going to stand up, and what he going to do, 24?
And his power should be mighty, but not by his own power.
He going to have all kind of power from Satan, and he using armies. But one thing about him, he going to have to answer to Jesus. Because that's who kingdom, that's who taking over next. When Noah's last son is done, Japhet, Jesus is time. His power shall be mighty, not by his own, and he shall do what?
And he shall destroy wonderfully.
That's something else. That's how bad it's going. This world in for a rude awakening if you think COVID-19 is something. You better gird up. This man going to destroy wonderfully. Thank God if you serve God, the Lord can protect you. That's what you got to know. Keep your faith in God. But go ahead.
And shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
See, but even some holy people have always had to die. Always. One of the greatest prophets ever lived, he got beheaded. The Lord said, among them born of women that have not risen a greater than John the Baptist. He didn't do nothing wrong, but he got his head chopped off. But he going to be sitting on the throne next time you see him. So it don't matter when the big scheme of things. He said he going to destroy the mighty and the holy people. But notice this, verse 25 now. Go ahead.
And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand.
That's that witchcraft. Go ahead.
And he shall magnify himself in his heart.
Uh-huh.
And by peace shall destroy many.
Because he using religion. He coming in peace, killing you. By peace destroy many. What?
He shall also stand up against the prince of princes.
Oh, he going to meet Jesus. Because that's who going to run this thing next. That's the prince of princes, right? We ain't got nobody else. He going to also stand up against the prince of princes. What's going to happen?
But he shall be broken without hand.
He going to be broken, and the Lord don't even have to grab him and touch him. Without hand. Why? Because he got a two-edged sword coming out of his mouth. All he got to do is speak it. He ain't got to be upset with you, grab you in a collar, do something to you. The Lord said, all he got to do is say it. That's that two-edged sword. Let's look at it. 2 Thessalonians. You finished that, right? He going to stand up against the prince of princes, but he going to be broken without hands. Daniel 2 says a stone cut out the mountain without hands. And that's going to destroy the Gentile dynasty. Now the Gentile time is up. 2 Thessalonians, New Testament. 2 and 1. 2 Thessalonians. 2 and 1. Go ahead.
Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Christ is at hand.
See, people don't know what's about to happen when the day of Christ comes. And he's talking about it. Don't be shook up like it's happening before it happened. It's going to come, but certain things got to happen before the day of Christ is at hand. And he's going to get into that. That's how you know the signs. Go ahead.
Let no man deceive you by any means.
Always watch that. Go ahead.
For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
The man of sin, the son of perdition. That's an abomination. Abomination, desolation. He got to be revealed before Jesus can come. That's the one in Daniel 8 we just read about. It said a king gonna arise, understanding dark sentences, and he gonna destroy wonderfully. He doing all this. He said, by peace he shall destroy me. This is him. We're gonna see here religious man. And the last thing we read, he said, besides it said craft gonna prosper in the thing, we read that he gonna stand up against the prince of princes and be broken without hand, right? So we already know what we're looking for. This is him. Why people don't know what Jesus really coming to do? He ain't coming to take you to heaven. He coming to take over from these crazy people. He got to before they kill us all. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first. And that man of sin, all men of sin. You know you got to be a special sinner to earn the title. That man of sin. We all sin. Goodness. The Lord got it in for this guy. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of destruction. That's what perdition means. Destruction. And we know that because it told us he's going to destroy. How? Wonderful. It's amazing. And we worried about COVID-19. It's been a little something for the last 19 months or so, but this ain't nothing compared to this stuff. That's why I call him the man of sin, the son of perdition. But what he going to do? How you going to recognize him? Then what's going to happen? Verse 4.
Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God.
Oh, that's why he a man of sin. He going to be bigger than God. He think he bigger than God. This man got to be crazy. I don't know what he been smoking. But go ahead.
Or that is worship. So that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
And he going to move to God's house in Jerusalem. Remember, one of the last things Jesus said about it, he said, you going into slave, you're going to be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of who? The Gentiles. Until that time is up. This is at the end of that time. He going to move into God's house. He asked God. It's like you go on vacation and you've been gone, you might have stayed a long vacation. I don't know. Maybe you got it like that. You got some money. And you know, you do have people that will squat in your house. I do real estate. I was selling a house in Hazelcrest where they had it, another realtor was selling it, but he wasn't paying attention to it. And some squatters had moved in. And the owner was talking, he said, man, will you take this house? Because this guy, he got these squatters in. I said, okay, well, you got to fire him and I'll take it. And so, but he had to get the squatters out because they didn't moved in. And they talking about, and the police was talking about, well, you know, squatters got rights too. I was like, right, goodness. But anyway, that's what, like this, Jesus gone, this man had moved into his house. That's what he's talking about. Who opposed and exalted himself above all that is called God or that is worship, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God in Jerusalem. Talking about they got to build it, showing himself that he is God. Skip down now. You could just imagine the smoke going up in Jesus' nose. Seeing this. Skip down. Let's see what the Lord do. Verse 8.
And then shall that wicked be revealed.
Once it's time, he moved to Jerusalem. You're going to know him. If you don't know, now you know. You'll see that. He moved to that temple. You know what's going on. Then shall that wicked be revealed when what?
Whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth.
Oh, he ain't going to touch him, no. He ain't got to lay a hand or he's going to be broken without hand, right? With the spirit of his mouth. Go ahead.
And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming.
And destroy him with the brightness of his coming. Go ahead.
Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders.
See, that's that craft that man doing. Jesus coming to put him to bed, though, night. For real. Revelation 17. And this for real. And it's so crazy that so many people say they believe in Jesus. They never heard of none of this stuff. Your preacher been lying to you. He's been hiding stuff at least. He been hiding. So why he can't tell you what it is? Because they lying, talking about got you waiting on the rapture, going to heaven. And this is what's coming down. Jesus coming back to crack some skulls. Revelation 17. Look at this. They gonna see, nobody never heard it. Everybody heard of the Lamb of God. He died for our sin. You better know that the Lamb gonna come killing for sins next. He gonna kill people for their sins next. Understand that. Notice this. It called him the Lamb here. 17 and 12. Revelation 17, 12. And we almost done. Go ahead.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings,
Uh-huh.
which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
See, notice this, brothers and sisters. We stay true to form since we tell people we believe the Bible, we teach the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. We started off, we went into Daniel, but we ended up in Genesis. That's where really the beginning of this lesson started. And now we're in Revelation. We started off reading about kingdoms with Nimrod and all of that from Noah's sons, right? Nimrod was the first one had a kingdom, a full-fledged kingdom, organizing some stuff. Now we're in Revelation. That was the beginning of the kingdom. Now we're in Revelation at the end of the kingdom when it's time for Jesus' kingdom. That's why the title from the flood of Noah to the kingdom of Jesus. But when you talk kingdom, it's always somebody running it before the next one, right? Somebody running it, somebody knock them off. Somebody running it, and then it's daytime. Somebody knock somebody off. Well, Jesus is the last knocker offer. He the last one gonna knock some people off. So it said, it's talking about some kings. It said 10 horns, which thou sawest are 10 kings. So he gives you this description, the beast with horns and all that. It means something. Not just in here for good reading. The 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but they gonna receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast, because everything gotta happen in its time. 13.
These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
See, they're going to go along to revive the Roman Empire. That's really what it is. That fourth dynasty from Daniel 7, the 4 beasts, or the fourth segment of the statue from Daniel 2. Each one had 4. This is the fourth one. These have one mind and going to give their power and strength unto the beast. A united states of Europe. That's what it is. They got it going already. Got the euro and everything on the market. Getting stronger and stronger. People don't know what's going on. But the bottom line, if you don't learn nothing else, know how it's going to end. Verse 14.
These shall make war with the Lamb.
I don't know why people don't know this. Why they pastor can't read this verse. Instead of lying, telling people they're going to heaven. You ain't got to go to heaven to get no peace. The Lord going to bring peace right here. He going to bring a heavenly kingdom, thy kingdom come, right here to the earth. That's why he got to make war with them. He going to come back, tell them, look, it's my time. Your time is up. It's my time. They going to be like, Everybody, like the old saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. They going to fall hard. You thought Pharaoh fell hard. They going to fall hard. Notice, though, they crazy enough to try to fight the Lord, the Lamb. These shall make war with the Lamb. Go ahead.
And the Lamb shall overcome them.
Of course. Go ahead.
For he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
That's what we all should want to be. He is Lord of lords and King of kings. Didn't it tell us in Daniel 8 that the man going to make war against the prince of princes, right? All that go together. We can't miss a beat. Revelation 11, just for good measure. Everybody should know this. Just, most people paying attention, they know this, but we still got new people. We got new people calling and converting all the time. So that's why, even if you know it, that's good, you know it. It's just a refresher. But we got people who don't know this. That's why I preach it the same way, even though I've been preaching it a long time. I preach it the same way because I know somebody don't know this. Revelation 11 and verse 15. Revelation 11, 15.
And the 7th angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven, saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord, and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever.
See, but it got to be war. It got to be a fight, but that's the end result. He is taking over. He's taking over. He allowed man to rule, starting with Noah's 3 sons, one by one, And when they time, the last one time is up, J-Fat, it's his time to shine. That's why I tell you point blank, the kingdoms of this world now belong to the Lord. He about to run this. And they're not going to like that announcement. They're going to be like, who is that? Who dare tell us they're going to tell us how to do things? The Lord. That's who. That's why it's going to be a fight. We saw it's going to be a fight, right? They're going to make war with them. They're going to be like, no, we ain't listening to you. You must be an alien. Who you think you are? Jesus. Last place in Psalm 22. It's already written in the Old Testament. That's what I like about the Bible. It all go together. You can't get away, Old Testament, New Testament. We just read Revelation. Last book, the kingdoms of this world, the 7 angels are going to sound. Then it's time for the kingdoms to belong to the Lord and his Christ, the Father and the Son. No Trinity either. That's another lie. Father and the Son. Notice back here, it had already said the Lord going to have to remind these people who the real king is. They've been running it so long, they think it's never going to end. It always ends. Everything has an ending, except once you get eternal life or everlasting fire, too. Those ain't going to have no ending. You want to be on the right side of that. 22 and 27. Psalm 22 and 27, this is it.
All the ends of the world shall remember and turn unto the Lord.
Oh, they're going to remember who the boss is. That's what he means. He going to remind them. He going to have to beat them into submission. Those that's left, they going to remember. They're going to oh, you are the boss. Oh, I forgot. You've been letting us do this so long. All the ends of the earth shall remember and turn to the Lord. Why?
And all the kindreds of the nations shall worship before thee.
You mean everybody in the world, huh? All the kings of the nations. Started off with Nimrod having a government. He had people worshiping him. Now you're going to worship the right one this time. All the kindreds of the nations shall worship before thee. Why?
For the kingdom is the Lord's.
That's right. And what is he?
And he is the governor among the nations.
Hope you got some understanding in Jesus' name. We're going to have some announcements.
Our prayer is that the eyes of your understanding were enlightened by today's lesson. DVDs and CDs of all our lessons are available. Please place your order in the offering box along with your donation and pick your DVDs and CDs up at the podium next Sabbath. Please tune in to Thy Kingdom Come television program, which airs in various locations. Please join us at our other study classes, Question and Answer Bible Study, every Wednesday night, 7 p.m., via conference call line at 860-970-0010, ID number 343-531-334, and also stream live from via our website at ThyKingdomCome7.com. Children's Bible class ages 4 through 12 every Sabbath at noon. Teen Forum Bible class ages 13 through 19 every other Sabbath, Saturday at 5 p.m. If you feel you are ready to be baptized, please sign the baptismal list at the podium and on speak with Brother Levi. Following is the dress code for our services. All clothing should be modest in appearance. Nothing tight-fitting, overly baggy, sagging, or revealing should be worn. Men are to remove hats and all head coverings, and shorts are not permissible. Women should wear a head covering such as a hat or scarf according to 1 Corinthians 11, 1 through 7. If your young child becomes noisy during the lesson, distracting other members, please remove him or her to the TV monitor area in the rear of the class. Any tithes and or freewill offerings should be put in an offering envelope and placed in the offering box near the podium. Pray for our strength as we pray for you. Until next Sabbath, peace.